Hey, what's up, guys? Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdirahman, and I'm here with.
Hawa.
We're over here in Seattle, Washington. I want to give a quick shout out to Taki Haq, my boy Idris, and Abdul Kareem for allowing us to use their studio, hence the logo in the back. But it seems pretty cool, you know. So, uh, Howard, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, first of all, and welcome to Seattle. I kind of just want to start with my story, my journey. We kind of connected where I seen your story, and I felt like I can kind of relate to that, and me and
Yeah,
a lot of other youth can relate. I decided to join this podcast with you to kind of share where I started and where I am today.
yeah,
A lot of things that we don't discuss in our community is women with addiction, right? And
100%.
I think it's important to kind of just be open and vulnerable and support each other. So, just to kind of dive right into my story, so I was born and raised in South Seattle.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people don't know, but South Seattle is primarily, low income and immigrants. And so our environment is, we're kind of shaped by our environment. And so we're affected by certain things like gun violence and mental health that we've never really addressed, right? But for me, I our parents really gave us a good life, right? They didn't have us struggling. We didn't know we were in low income. We still got the freshest J's. So that was never my story. Like, oh, I went through and I started smoking. No, it was just kind of like, it's a fun time. You're in Washington. We have weed everywhere. So my first blunt was when I was 16 years old. Never ever forget it. It was my sweet 16. So I was about 15 and a half at the time. So I smoked the blunt, one blunt turned into another, and then I found myself actually being a recreational smoker, right? All the homies would do it, but at that time there wasn't a lot of women that were smoking, so it was, I hit it, nobody really
Yeah,
knew, right?
doing on the low.
So all my friends were really a lot of the bros, right? And so at that time, between the ages of 16 and about 22, I was just smoking weed all the time. I was known at that point too amongst my community, oh, Hawa, the smoker, right? So back then, you're not, weed was actually looked at as like, you're doing dope. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you're doing weed. So everybody looked down on you, right? And so for me, I kind of just gravitated with the brothers. And so life kind of goes on, but things started happening in my life, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but Seattle has been affected by a lot of gun violence, right? So I think around 21, 22, what turned into just smoking weed turned into trying to numb the pain, right?
Yeah.
That's how we coped with grieving. So I think it was around 23, went from weed to pills, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you have access to it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So like I said, I was around a lot of brothers. So, I'm riding around with the guys. The plug is always with me. So I always am doing this pill. It was Xanax, my choice of drug at that time. 2015, I'll never forget it. Seattle, we buried about like 6 people this year. So every month there was a janaza.
SubhanAllah,
So
yeah.
by the 6th janaza, I'm burnt out. I'm popping pills. For 10 days straight, I'll never forget how high I was. Like, I was just high. And I disconnected from my real friends, right? I'm around these people, these guys. And we're just, everybody at this time in Seattle, we kind of were just grieving. We were trauma bonding. Everyone just got together. Everyone who drank. Anyone who smoked. But it got so bad that we just picked up on these new habits, right? If it was weed, lean, pills, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget what, because you have that wake up call, right? Everyone has it where you just wake up one day, you're just like, oh, snap, I gotta snap out of it. But this 10-day spree where I'm getting high every day, there was the 10th day, I'll never forget, I seen somebody that I knew that I didn't see for a while, right? And I was excited to see them. I'm like, hey, what's up? And I'm high, right? And so I'm like, hey, what's up? I haven't seen you in a while. And then we show love. And then I guess 24 hours later, I seen the same brother and I had the same reaction, like I didn't see him. So I'm like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And then one of my friends kind of nudged me and was like, you just seen him yesterday. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the Xanax makes you forget things, right? They're like, you be blacking out. And I'm like, no. And they're like, yeah, the Xanax blacks you out. And I don't know what it was. I mean, looking back now, obviously, Elahi was saving me from something, right? But it was just like a click where I was just like, I gotta snap out of this. Or I used to always think like I didn't want to be like the people that are just gone, right? I used to always say that. And then so I'll never forget during this time, and nobody really knows this, right? During this time, I'm in a whole technical program. People are showing me love because I'm in this IT program. I just got into an internship. I'm masking it. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So
Trying to function.
I'm functioning addict at this point. You know, my homegirls who I'm close with didn't even know. It's just the people that I was around knew what I was doing, right? So I just remember, I'll never forget. I'm praying to Allah, like, just help me shake this. Just help me shake this, and I'll never do it again. Like, literally, that's what happens where you just pray and you just ask for it. And I don't know what it was, but the timing of everything, it worked out for me because I was able to distract myself. I got into this dope program, right? I got into this internship. I was interning at Facebook at the time. So it's like, okay, I got a little distraction. I kind of disconnected from that group. I'm in this internship that I think that's what kind of pushed me to kind of just be focused on that. And alhamdulillah, over time, I slowly just stopped doing it, right? I completely just cold turkeyed it, right? And I still would smoke weed every now and then, but I cold turkeyed that.
How long did that go on for the pills?
So the whole,
2015 to
the whole until like the mid 2016. It was
okay, so like a year and a half
about a year,
consistent.
but consistent, right?
So let me ask you a question then. So this whole time you was working, you was doing an internship, telling me like, that you were doing the pills. You was also working. A lot of people didn't know about it. Like, how does that work? Is that normal for a Somali or East African girl?
Oh yeah,
Muslim girl.
especially when you look like this.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna think you're doing anything, right? Because you could mask it better. You could put the makeup on. You could put your lashes on. You could look good, and you can do whatever, and then just boom, take your little selfie. No one's gonna know.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that we
A lot
gotta.
of sisters are struggling in silence.
It's silent, right? And then you think someone's gonna judge you, but like,
Yeah.
no, you're not alone. We're all going through something, right? We're all going through some type of trauma that we're not healing from, and some people need someone to outlet, right? That don't judge them. Everybody needs that, and I wish I had that. We don't have that actually to this day. We don't have women who are just like, all right, yeah, I went through that. You want to talk? You know, it's good. Go through your emotions. You know, I think as a community, we look down upon people, right? We look at them, it can never be me. I'll never take a pill, or I'll never take smoke. But I feel like at this point in our lives, anyone and everyone could do anything, right? You can't judge anybody's circumstances. I know some of the most brilliant people that I like ever met, dopest guys who would just never touch even weed, who are now just drinking drink, doing pills. You know what I mean? And it's like, never say never, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like for women, I feel like we can mask it better than men, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys, you could see them, you be like, oh, he fell off. But women, you can't tell. So at that time, I'm getting love and support for what I'm doing. And the outside, like, oh, she's in the program, but behind closed doors,
You're struggling.
I'm burnt out. You know, like I was like gone at this point. So I mean, with that situation, alhamdulillah, like I feel like I got lucky, right? That I had a distraction. I feel like if I didn't, it'd be easier for me to stay in that place, that space. And I think that's what a lot of us struggle with. We just stay in this cycle and we just keep doing it, right? We don't have an outlet, right?
What was that breakthrough for you for that cycle?
It was
out of that cycle.
It was that moment that I felt crushed when someone kind of looked at me like, I just seen you. What do you know, when I seen and that feeling of just looking at you like, I just saw you. You're tripping right now. I don't like that feeling like
You're not there.
Right. I want to be myself, like, you know, and I don't know, growing up, you kind of just see people, like we have this area in downtown where it's just a bunch of people, right, that are off drugs, whatever. You look at them, you're like, I don't want to be like that, right? That was always my fear. I don't want to fall off so bad that I don't know myself, you know? So that was my fear at that time. And so when I heard that, it just kind of threw me off. And so alhamdulillah, like I said, that distraction. Yeah.
So did anybody ever find out?
During the time I was doing? No, after I was open with it. During, like I said, I disconnected from my close friends, my really good friends. I was closer to the people that didn't say nothing. They didn't hold me accountable. They weren't tripping. You know, I literally pushed myself away from the ones that would ask me what's wrong. And I think that's another thing that played a major role in my addiction, I would say, because my environment, right? I stayed around the wrong environment when I needed to really heal and be around the right people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
How did the addiction affect your life?
At that time?
Yeah, throughout and even after.
I would say one thing about like what I'm learning now that I'm completely just, my mind is clear, is when you're high, you're overly thinking your situation, right? You're in a darker place versus when you're sober. And we don't realize that in that moment. But now that I'm just clear mind, and now I'm seeing that being high was just for that second, that moment. It actually made it worse. It actually made me stay stuck in that hole versus now when I'm praying, I don't pick up a blunt. I'll, pray Salat versus, and I see a difference. And during that time, it was just a few seconds high, right? But I don't know. I don't see it affecting me now. I'm glad I went through that, right? When I look back at it, I'm very happy I went through a phase because now I could see and say, I don't even want to do it. Or like we were talking about earlier, during the time I was giving birth and they were giving me all these drugs, and I'm like, I'm scared to death. Like, I don't know why they're giving me all these drugs, but that right there is a fear of not trying to be addicted to something. Like, even Starbucks. Earlier, I'm afraid to be addicted to anything, right? I don't like that feeling to want something
or
need it, right? And it's like when you get clear of that, you're very strong. You're mentally, you feel strong about it, right? And so I don't know, for me, with women who are struggling right now, I feel like the best way to kind of get through it is really get through it, right? You like pray a lot, say you want to get out of that mind, get out of whatever you're going through, pray. And it's okay wherever you're at, whatever state you're at, pray your salat, ask Allah, make it easier for you. And then there's a whole side of actually detoxing yourself, right? Because I feel like a lot of us don't give ourselves grace. We just think we can just stay at home and get off of this drug. Like, no, we need to seek treatment, right? I think no one is really trying to normalize sobriety. No one's trying to normalize getting clean with help, Yeah. And I think that's important. I think that's one thing we need to kind of bring even to our city. Like, a lot of people shy away from trying to get clean, but it's like you need to, it's not that easy to just get off of it, right?
So, why do you think it's so hard for girls to get help?
Because like they're one, it's hidden.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you're hiding it, you're more of in denial of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm talking about just weed, it sounds like, I'm pretty sure anyone that hears is like, oh, it's just weed. But like, no, this
girl's really struggling severely.
You need it.
Yeah.
You can't sleep, you can't eat, and you're mad when you're not smoking. That's a problem. You know what I mean? And it's okay. Mm-hmm. And that goes for, honestly, I speak on, like I said, anything, even hookah. There's a season in my life where I was waking up 7 a.m. to smoke hookah to start my day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's a problem. That's nothing normal about smoking tobacco in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. But we got to identify our problem. We have to understand our problem and understand it's okay to go through these things, right? I always think about, like, like we were talking about how many losses we have in the city. You got to think about it. Like, a lot of brothers who've died, they have little sisters. They have little cousins that are women. How are they dealing with that? How are they grieving? We're always thinking about their cousin, the boys, and they can grieve in the streets or they can do whatever, right? But we never think about the women who have to grieve these deaths, right?
Yeah.
Where's that brother's little sister at mentally, right? Yeah. And so it's like,
she's expected to get her chin up, keep her chin up, and just keep on going.
But imagine you just lost your brother to a gun bullet. She's not gonna be okay. You know what I mean? And I think we have to give grace in that too. Like, what is it, janaza etiquettes? I don't know.
I think Muslim sisters, essentially one of the biggest issues within our communities, respectively, is that we put too much of a high expectation to our sisters, and it comes from a place of love, but it's more of also like the fact that, so how I see it is, a lot of times sisters really fall into these situations because of the too much pressure. Mm-hmm. And because of so much expectations, right, they end up breaking. Mm-hmm. And then on the other hand, I think a lot of brothers are falling into these situations because of lack of discipline and lack of expectations. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. I grew up in a household where I didn't have to do dishes. I didn't have to clean. I didn't have to learn how to cook. Yeah. I had to learn about all of these different things when I got older and moved out, right? Where I had roommates from different, ethnicities and backgrounds where they were laughing at me. Yeah. Like, you don't know how to cook? What?
Yeah.
You don't know how to clean? Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't even know how to do laundry. I had to learn all that stuff by myself. So, like, I think that because of that, it was easy for me to fall short. Mm-hmm. But with a sister, when she falls short, it's like the whole world is ended. Mm-hmm. And because of that, a lot of times sisters end up not only dealing with these type of situations, addiction, but they hide it. And because they're struggling in silence, it's so much more harder for them to get help. And it's also so easy for them to slip up and die from these type of situations and circumstances, and people never hear about it because they're literally like hidden. You'll see a girl go missing, nobody knows where she is.
Yeah.
You know, the family's gonna say, oh, she moved out of the country, or
Yeah.
well, I've seen this in real life circumstances, but she's dead. And so, I mean, I feel like a lot of times it's really a very huge burden on our sisters, where a lot of sisters are not able to receive help, receive resources, and a lot of it has to do with the family dynamic of, you know, how much pressure we put on our sisters, and they're not given grace when they make mistakes. Whereas when a brother makes a mistake, he's expected to, you know, like there's so much grace. He can enter back into a household, and I think with sisters it's a lot very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I always wonder like where this comes from, this idea of strong, having to be strong, because even in our deen, you know, the Prophet Sallallahu talks about being vulnerable. You have to be, how do you bow down to Allah and being strong? And so even in our culture, it doesn't even make sense. Like I always think about the janazas, right? And so I see how they, you know, have you ever been to a janaza? The first day they're saying, don't cry, don't cry. Like, what do you mean don't cry?
And you're talking about the janazah etiquette earlier.
Yeah, the janaza etiquette blows me, because when you really think about it, when we're middle school, elementary school, right, and we come back and a kid has an asthma attack and dies, what do? They have grief counselors, right? Don't they call them in immediately? If you need to talk to somebody, why when we have janaza, don't cry? Your homie just got smoked.
Matter of fact, they tell the sisters, go in the kitchen, make food for everybody else.
Her brother just died.
Yeah,
her cousin, her uncle just, you know,
yeah.
That don't make no sense to me. And it's not Islamic. It's not, Islam doesn't say don't cry. And it's not saying you're questioning Allah. You're not questioning Allah. You know, we all understand in Allahi wa inna rajun. You, from Allah do we belong, to Allah we return. We never question death. But could we go through those motions? Could we understand, yeah, your homie that was just here isn't here no more. Let's get through it. Let's talk about it. This pushing the emotions away, where did this come from and why? I don't know. Like, I'm 31 years old, right? I literally recently counted 23 janazas. And out of the 23 janazas, it was like 4 of those were not homicides. The rest were homicides. Literally all. And it wasn't, I should say, it was people I grew up with, my peers. It was people I've had pictures with. You know what I mean? That's not normal.
No,
it's not normal at all. Like that year when 2015, when we were saying that year we lost people every month, I still had to go to work, right? They don't believe us when we tell them someone just died every month. That's unheard of. Yeah. So how are we healing from that? Who's helping who heal, right? And so that also just comes into play when it comes to street violence. All that. I don't believe everyone just wakes up one morning and is a killer. No, you're not. You gotta
get pushed to a certain extent. You gotta
get pushed, and you got drugs in your system, and even the woman, like, you gotta wake up the next day and go back to your kid, and you know, it's not normal. And let's normalize that, right? Let's normalize getting through these deaths in a healthy way, because a lot of people that I know started their habits literally after their homie died. Literally, you ask them. I started popping pills when my friend died. I started drinking when it's like, because we're not normalizing healing. You know what I mean? We're trying to push it away. So I feel like that's important to talk about and to identify and fix. Get more mental health therapists involved in the community. You know what I mean? And Muslim, Black, come out and talk to these people who are losing their family members. There's moms burying their kids. It's not normal, right? So I think that also plays a major role. Like I said, about a good percentage of people that I know started something after someone died, and they just don't know how to heal. I think, you know, even for me now, as I'm at this point in my life,
how do you heal?
I'm learning how to heal more differently, right? So actually, I could speak on this. So like, as of January, I lost somebody, and Allah, may Allah grant him Jannah. And it was crazy when I think about it, because this was probably my first person that I lost that I leaned towards Salat versus trying to get high or trying to go back kicking it or something. This death, I started praying. This death, I started, like, I didn't go back to what I normally knew, right? All those other people that passed, I immediately called who I needed to call. I rolled up. I
Picked
did
up what you got to pick
whatever
up.
I got to do to numb it, right? And what I've learned in this experience of healing is that that route had, now when I think about that, brother, I smile. You know what I mean? I have more peace. I'm not mad. I'm not, and I'm nowhere near religious, right? I'll tell you right now, I'm still working. I still listen to MC. I still listen to Mufti. I'm still there, but I'm learning that salat really is what you have to have. It's like literally oxygen, right? And so I learned with that death is you have a choice on how you want to heal. And not to say I got all the answers, but I know if you choose the route of, making your sujood when someone passes versus going to go call the homies and get high, you'll find more peace in that. And you'll have more understanding, you know what I mean? And I think we got to understand it's not about being religious, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'm not. You don't got to be religious to pray. But kind of relying on that as a healing mechanism is something that's important. And so, alhamdulillah, like, I'm seeing the difference. It could have been easily where I took a different route, but I chose this route. And it's brought me a lot of peace. And I found, and I honestly, just to kind of go back to my story, is what I learned also is you have to disconnect to what you know, right? I had to leave the environment that I knew, the environment that caused trauma, the environment that has only but trauma. You can't stay in that area. You can't stay around the same people. So I think that's important too in detoxing and in rehabilitation, is leaving from what you know. You have to leave that comfort and want to change, right? And so I just think, back to what we were saying though, like, it's just important to find a healing when it comes to death versus what we're not used to,
Yeah, so you're Oroma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this, so you're our first Oroma guest, and so I want to ask you, is this like an issue also in the Oroma community?
For sure. I mean, it's no different. We're no different at this.
100%,
We're
yeah.
no different at this point, and it definitely is. I don't think anyone really speaks on it at all, actually. I mean, what's crazy is everyone that I know, we all are affected by it. Everyone's household, someone has an addiction. Someone lost somebody to death. Somebody lost somebody to the system.
But nobody talks about it.
Nobody talks. Everyone goes back to their house and acts like nothing is going on in their home. That's what's crazy about the community, is we just kind of act like so-and-so's parent. Everyone tries to seem better than the next family.
Yeah.
But in reality, we can honestly say at this point, everybody's house is affected by drug addiction,
gang violence,
something, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. It's just like, it's good. We're there now. It's not like back in the days where, oh, so-and-so's kid is better than this person's kid. That's what they used to do, right? No, we're all...
Can't even do that.
You can't. We're all on the same page at this point. And I think we just completely ignore it. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not even a conversation to be had.
How do you navigate in an environment like that? What's advice like to somebody watching right now and navigating in an environment where there's so much stigma, whether you're a sister or a brother struggling with addiction and you're trying to make it out, especially nowadays? I mean, you're talking about you were addicted to Xanax, right? And this is about 7-8 years ago. Things are completely different now.
Oh, yeah.
It's fentanyl, right? Fentanyl is the leading cause of death between anybody between the ages of 18 and 45. A lot of people are struggling with fentanyl addiction, or even we were talking about the other time, right? Perks and lean. These are things that I feel like people, because fentanyl is such a normal mainstream thing, that it's not normal, but that's what people are really talking. When the people talk about addiction, that's what people hear is fentanyl.
Yeah.
But they don't think about perks, Xanax, lean, those things. So when people, so how when people see it, they're like, okay, well, so long as the bottom line is fentanyl, so long as I don't do that, I'm straight.
Yeah.
How do you navigate in an environment like that, getting out of it? You know what I mean? Because I'm not from Seattle. This is my second time here.
Yeah.
And so just connecting with people, that's one thing that I feel I always ask is how do you navigate in an environment where the odds are stacked against you, where you don't have the resources?
And that's the problem. It's a dead end.
Yeah.
It's a dead end road right now. It literally is nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing doesn't exist. There's no safe space. Why I'm connecting with you. This makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah. I'm seeing every couple months I'm seeing someone fall victim to this. And it's like, for me personally, I have a goal of mine to try to help and contribute some way, shape or form. I have to before I leave this dunya. But it's like where do you start, right? In a place where it's unheard of. I think conversations need to be had. I think making things okay, right?
Yeah.
Like talking about it. It's
Having a conversation right now.
start with a
And you
conversation.
never spoke about this on any type of online platform or
That
nothing.
this is gonna be so left field for anybody watching that knows me. No,
Because they had no clue.
nothing. I didn't tell a soul. I
Yeah.
told I'm meeting my homegirls right now at the screening. They don't even know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
They don't know. And my mom, you know, alhamdulillah, I have my, like, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me with a lovely, supportive mom. And like I was telling you, she didn't know.
No clue.
No clue.
Up until recently. It was like a year ago, you said, right?
Almost 2 years ago. Ooh, she was like, how? She was like, how did you do that? How did you manage to do that? And I didn't know. And I felt, in a way, I felt bad, right? Because it's like, a mom, you feel guilty, maybe, like, how didn't I know? But I had to let her know, like, no, I was hiding. I was able to maneuver around you. You know what I mean? And, you know, inshallah, you know, I hope any mom that sees and hears this understands it's not your fault, right? Like I said, we wasn't struggling. They made sure we didn't know where we were living or how the struggle was.
Tried their best.
They tried their best. We were good. It was us. It was our environment, right? And it was our choices. And it was us not knowing how to. We don't have a how to navigate. We don't have that. And so I think it's just important to start the conversation and see what we can do as a community to support one another, but also not judge each other, right? Because I know at some point, I guarantee you, when a mom sees this or hear this, they're going to be like, oh, look at so-and-so's daughter. And the important thing that everyone needs to understand, any parent, is everybody's affected by this.
That's a fact.
It don't matter how good it looks, how good your daughter portrays it. Someone is dealing with something
Severely.
Bad. They're every night they're going through it, and it's okay. It's not your fault that they're doing that, but support them and make it okay that you're gonna be there. You know, and me being a mom now too, it helps me understand how I'm gonna help my daughter too at some point in her life, because I'm gonna be understanding. I'm gonna have a lot more grace. Whatever she goes through in this life, I'm gonna be very patient with her, and I'm gonna understand it from my own, you know, my own life, you know. So yeah, I just think Seattle, inshallah, I hope like we can start with the conversation, and also start with like how to, right, bringing services to these people and making it okay to detox the same way we're making it okay to get high, the same way we're acknowledging we're making it okay at this point, right? We know our people's is high. We know our people.
But we're not doing anything. So you're basically part of the problem.
Yeah, let's make it okay. Let's normalize detoxing. Let's try to be that bridge for that, right? And so, inshallah, I hope what you're doing in Minnesota, we can kind of imitate and bring out here one day, you know, because it's important. I think just watching your peers kind of fall victim to this is probably one of the most heartbreaking thing I've ever dealt with. It makes my stomach churn every night. Wallahi, like, it's something that truly affects me, because I just can't wrap my head around this idea of it being a dead end. Like 5 years from now, I always think about that. 5 years from now, my partners are gonna be where they're gonna be at, and I don't want it. I don't want that for them. And I honestly could say, nobody wants to stay high forever. Nobody wants this forever. They just don't know how, and I think they kind of just gave up. I think everybody's just like, fuck it.
I think like a lot of times it's because there's a dead end. A lot of parents try to resort to other ways, and I was talking to a friend about this recently, and he was telling me his story about just, you know, like, you know, a lot of parents are locking kids up. A lot of kids are taking them outside of the country, putting them in facilities, locking them up, because they have no idea what to do. Because I feel like we just weren't equipped to learn how to deal with this situation. And so a lot of times in the community, it really takes initiative. You doing something like this, I want to just step back real quick and tell you thank you so much for just coming here and talking about something like this. Because first and foremost, I mean, if you look through our pod, it's only niggas in there. There's only one sister, may Allah bless her, Mariam. And outside of that, I mean, it's just guys. And the reason being is because it's really hard. I only know 4 people in my entire life, sisters that came out and spoke about the subject. And the thing is like, it's such a hard thing to do. Sisters don't get grace. You know what I mean? And if a sister does come speak up about it, she gets so much backlash.
Yeah, you're going to get trashed.
You know? And so it's like being scared of that is like what a lot of people like, and that's okay. Feeling like, yo, damn, like if I go out and speak about this, what is gonna happen? This is gonna be on the internet. People are gonna see this. all of these different things that come into somebody's head. That, I mean, I feel like guys and girls, but it's like girls on steroids. That's what they're thinking about, because it's like, damn,
Yeah.
like it can impact you in so many different
Yeah.
ways. But you're doing something brave, because there's gonna be a sister that's watching this, right, struggling. You know what I mean? And she's gonna be looking for inspiration in you, just hearing you. And I think that it's like there's so many sisters that are going through first off addiction. I mean, I like, help our sisters out, because they really don't have a lot of people. There's not really a lot of people they can turn to, and not a lot of people that understand their circumstance, because of the fact of the matter that they understand that guys get so much grace. And that's such a sad, it's very unfortunate. I understand that me as a guy, if I talk about my addiction, I'm not gonna even get close to the same type of backlash that a sister's gonna get. That I'm gonna probably get way easier. It's gonna be easier for me to be accepted than it is for that sister. And so it's like, I do really want to give you a big shout out and kudos to you for sitting here and speaking about something like that, especially in such a community already where it's so taboo, right? That's being a trailblazer and a trendsetter, literally, where you are talking and being like, this is my story. I'm going to own up to it. You know what I mean? And so I do want to say thank you to that. My question to you would be, so I remember one other thing we talked about on the phone was, you told me that it didn't stop with the Xanax. And then what was after that? After you stopped the Xanax, what happened?
Lean.
Okay.
Surprise, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't ever hear the women doing the lean.
I feel like lean is such a that's like a cool drug.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like the thing is about lean is that, perks is maybe, okay, so when I was doing perks, it was like $30, $35.
Yeah.
It got more, and the fentanyl became less.
Yeah.
Right? But one thing that pretty much stayed the same always was lean, where you pay 120 a line, 150 a line. It's a rich man's drug.
It's a rich man's
So,
drug.
like,
Yep.
even the thing is I remember, like, when niggas was doing lean, they would be like, man, you can't get on this type of level. It was
Yeah.
always a get money drug.
Yeah.
So it's like when a nigga's doing a lean, nobody looks at it as bad.
glorified.
Even a dude that never did drugs in his life, he gonna look at that nigga sipping lean and he'll be like, oh yeah, that nigga's turned. So it's like,
It's
there's
glorified.
such a glorified thing. And it's not just by like, and even the thing is, rappers, they glorify perks, Molly, whatever, but it's like lean is on a different level.
Oh, man.
Because it's a cup. It looks like,
cool. It's a part of people's photo props.
Yeah.
People put it in their pictures.
nigga ain't never did drugs. He just got a double cup.
It's heroin.
Yeah.
It's heroin.
Liquid heroin, for real,
Liquid
yeah.
heroin.
Yeah.
But it looks good, right? So, because we're going back, this is what, because when I was, like I said, back
That was
then,
the lean wave though.
yeah,
2016,
it was,
2017.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it was a hit, right? And so,
Walk hard.
man, so for me,
Yeah.
I got lucky. I didn't get lucky when I think back at it, but
Yeah.
so I was working at the time, right? I had a
Okay.
good job,
Yep.
so I had good insurance.
Yep.
They was handing that out to me like candy.
That's that Purdue Pharma thing.
That's the whole
just was giving
the
everything.
whole business, right?
Yeah.
So back then, I will never forget. So like I said, south and north, right? It's like a distance of 30, 40 minutes.
Yep.
Every 3 days, me and my friends would drive to every clinic, and I would pick up lean. Every clinic, just keep getting it nonstop. And so at that time, it was, when I look at it, it was really cool to do it, right? But then,
Good money too.
oh yeah, because then
Because you get a bottle.
I was gonna say at that point,
Yeah.
I'm balancing making money off of it and doing it at the same time too, because it was
Yeah.
easy access. I was
Yeah.
getting it for $2 with my insurance.
Oh, and
$2-3.
Yeah, you make 120 off a line.
$2,
There's
$3.
16 lines in a
Yeah,
bottle.
16. If you get an 8
Yeah.
ounce, you can
Yeah.
and you selling it an ounce. When
Yeah.
I look back at it, oh my
good money, yeah.
god! Even now it's more. So now it's a whole nother level. I
Yep.
heard it's like way more than what it was.
150.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
So I had a good run with that, right? And so I had access to it. It's easy for me to get it. At the time, I was the only one really getting it, me and someone else. So it was just there. I'll never forget, though, what stopped it was the last doctor I went to. He looked at my chart and was like, why do they keep giving you this drug? Why do they keep prescribing it to you so much? Right now, even to this day, if you look on my medical chart, it's banned. Like, it's a block.
Block.
Well, it's
Can never get it
I can
again.
never get lean again because of
Yeah.
how much I was getting it. And that
Yeah.
last doctor couldn't believe it. He's like, how dare they keep giving you this? They need to try a different alternative. Why do they keep giving you this? At this point, I'm hooked, so it's like trying to pay for it is a whole nother story. And it's
That's a lot of
hard to
money.
get at that time. It was
Yeah.
not like now, too. It was very hard to get. When I think back, I'm telling you what because I didn't have rehab. We didn't have facilities.
Yeah, so you was withdrawing.
Eh,
Bad.
eh.
Oh, man.
If I didn't have the distraction, I'm telling you, if I wasn't in any program or something that I had to do every day,
Yeah.
I would have went right back. But the
Yeah.
distraction, I think it's important that we understand. You have to have something to distract you from what you know. And
No,
I think
100%.
that's what helped me get out of that and shake that. And I shook everybody. I shook all my friends. I
Yeah.
stayed isolated for a minute.
Yeah, because you got the bar friends, then you had the lead friends. And it's not the
Yeah.
same group.
No, it's not
Yeah.
at all. And so, alhamdulillah, because it could have been bad, right? I always think about that because, what is it? I just learned this term,
Survivor's guilt. Or
'Cause
survivor's remorse.
I always think about the friends that I did have that
And you
were
feel
doing
bad
it,
for letting them go.
and they still are there. This
Mm-hmm.
is how many years later we're a good 10, 12, and they're still doing the same thing. And that's why, for me, I'm very passionate in this because I'm seeing me in them.
You want to get them out of that.
I got to. There's no way I'm about to sit here and watch my people really fall victim to this. And I'm going to see this in 5 years and think, dang, that so-and-so felt like, man, I could have, I could have been that connection between this. And so that's what it is that I'm just so passionate about, is seeing those same friends still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I can't watch
It
that.
really hurts you.
It will lie.
Because you was just right there with them.
And, you know, like, Allah just had a different plan for me. You know
That's
what I mean?
alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Allah just had a different plan.
What do you think saved you?
Allah.
Outside of that, after Allah.
I'm like Allah straight
What
up,
keeps
but
you? What I'm saying is, you, Hawa, right now sitting in this room.
yeah,
You've been sober for how long?
it's going on about 10.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
What has kept you sober now? Like, I'm talking about, like, here every day. It's an active choice. What keeps you sober?
It's really just that idea of, one, I'm a mom, right? And I want to be a good representation for my daughter. I want her to see someone that was somewhere but changed into something better. I don't want to be known as the perfect person, right? So I want to keep this up just for my own pleasure of knowing that I shook that and I did that, you know, and I got that in a bag. And so for me, that it's my own personal, like,
Your child.
yeah, my child for sure. And then honestly, my peoples, to be honest, I want to be that inspiration to people. Like, Hawa was right here and she's right there. And I always get love too. I always get people showing me love for where I'm at today. And that's what pushes me to stay where I'm at too, to be honest. But outside of that, Allah, my daughter, and really just push myself. Like, I heard one day it said, treat your life like a business, manage it well. And so that is just something I just hold a lot of pride in, and it keeps me going. And so that's one thing for sure.
So, what is your goals for? Who's Hawa today? We talked about Hawa yesterday. Who is Hawa today and who's Hawa tomorrow? What is your goals for the future?
Hawa today is very much at peace. Hawa today, alhamdulillah, is healing in a very healthy way. Hawa today has goals to help people that where Hawa was yesterday.
Yep.
That's honestly, I'm at a point where in my life where money, you can get money anyway. Money's there, right? I don't really, that's not my goal in life, is to be the richest person in the world, right?
Yeah.
But I want to leave this dunya knowing that I helped people. I left a legacy, you know what I mean? And just kind of using myself as a helping tool for people. And inshallah, my real future goals is really to be a bridge, right, between the community and healing. I want to be able to kind of
help people on that journey
and kind of just be like that safe space for people, and just, it's good, like, don't even worry, everybody got, we all going through this motion and we got it, don't even trip, let it be medical, non-medical, let it be whatever we need to do. I want to kind of be that bridge, inshallah. And inshallah, I hope we can continue building and connecting and bringing what you're doing out here, because I always say Minnesota is just 10 years in advance. We're going to be there. You know what I mean? We're just a little bit behind, but we're there. We're going to get there. And so honestly, like, that's just my future goals. I mean, I've always been into entrepreneurship, right? Always online businesses, all that is fun, right? But my passion is really helping people and being that bridge for our community, because it's not there. And I just think back at myself, like, I never had it.
So let me be that.
There's let it be one person that one person, I got you. It's good. You know, if you want to talk about it, get through it. You're not alone. You know.
Yeah. So if we're gonna ask you one question, and then we're gonna wrap this up. And the question is, um, first and foremost, I do apologize. I feel like we didn't get too deep into the
Oh no.
conversation, but this is more towards sisters that look like you, right? Um, I feel like the brothers get enough brothers that talk about this, and so one thing that I want to ask you is, if there's somebody sitting in the position that you were just once in, sister watching this, what is your advice to them?
My advice to them,
Hmm.
honestly, whatever state you're at mentally, wherever you're at, whatever your choice of drug is, do not leave Salat, right?
Hmm.
Honestly, I hate that people, you got to be religious to talk about it, but no, just never leave your Salat and ask Allah to make it easier for you. And it's okay. It's okay to go through what you're going through. You're not alone, right? And ask for resources. Hit me up. You know what I mean? If you need resources, there's connections out there. Look how quick we connected.
Yeah,
Quick.
talked last week.
This all was boom, boom, boom. Brother put it together. Boom. Everything was just like that. Tells you that people are willing to help, right?
Hmm.
So I think for the young women or women in general who are dealing with anything, it's okay to go through what you're going through, get through it. But I always ask Allah for help, and even if you're not Muslim, find some faith, right? Find some type of faith in God. Everything we go through in this life is meant for us to go through. We're like, with hardship comes ease, right? I mean, that's one thing I learned in my healing is everything I went through, I got through it, and it wasn't that bad as I thought it was. In that moment, it felt dark and lonely, and it's the end of the world. But no, it gets better. It always gets better. And if you have faith, it's gonna get better, no doubt about it. And so, inshallah, I hope anyone who's going through it just kind of reaches out to help.
Yeah,
Resources, get it. It's good. We all got it. You know what I mean? Everybody got a problem, some way, some shape or form. You're dealing with something, regardless if you're a hijabi or not. You know what I mean? And that's another thing too. They see a hijabi, they expect them to be perfect. No, it's all right.
yeah,
It's okay to go through life and deal with things. And so let's normalize that. And so, inshallah, I hope, anyone who's going through it, may Allah make it easier for you. And, just always have a lot of faith
yeah. Give yourself some
and
grace.
give yourself grace.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Hawa, for
Yeah.
being here. I really appreciate you for taking the time, and the vulnerability that you've presented here is remarkable. Thank you so much for being here. And inshallah, we're gonna put Hawa's at name and ways to contact her, inshallah,
Inshallah.
on the video. And so y'all check it out. Check out the podcast, and don't forget to subscribe. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Peace.